Civilization or Barbarism, an Authentic Anthropology by Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop. Chapter 9: Revolutions in History, Causes and Conditions for Success and Failure. We will study successively the revolutions in ancient and modern AMP states in the slave and individualistic Greco-Latin city-states, the Roman Empire, and Europe of both the Middle Ages and modern times. The study of AMP, Asian or African mode of production, analyzes 1. The economic functions of the state and its relations with village communities. 2. The characteristics of village production. 3. The fundamental contradiction in society defined by this mode of production. 4. The administration of land in these societies. And 5. The role of commerce and urban life in these societies. 1. The economic functions of the state have a direct relation to the conditions and reasons of its creation. It will be remembered that a whole community must accept a supraclannish authority transcending tribal self-interest. It must be able to act, at the beginning at least, for the greater good of all, for the survival of all citizens of the state without exception, and not only in the interest of a small minority group of the Eupatridae, i.e., those of noble birth, or the conquerors. The public economic, social, and military usefulness of the AMP state is therefore an indisputable, tangible fact in the eyes of the entire community. As long as the state does not betray its mission, it may ask much without fear of being disobeyed or encountering resistance. Because the ideological, religious, and social superstructure has been intensely experienced by the group, it does not feel alienated when the state requires work from it. This is how tasks were accomplished that today amaze us, from the great pyramids of the Incas to the Celtic megaliths. But Marx calls this type of work generalized slavery, as opposed to the private slavery that was practiced in the individualistic societies of the Greco-Latin city-states. Does this concept really explain the unique and complex relations that existed between the states of AMP type and their citizens? Does it not misrepresent the reality of things to a certain extent by its Eurocentrism? By definition, it is not the slave, the individual, who has the feeling of having lost his freedom. The slave becomes an actor in history only to the extent that he is fully conscious of his alienation and actively tries to change his condition. A slave who is unaware of having lost his freedom will play no revolutionary role, even though a theoretician might have no trouble demonstrating his status as a slave. Such would be the case of the citizen in a society of the AMP. We will examine the circumstances under which this citizen came to change his attitude historically. Besides, slaves have never been responsible for any historical revolution, except perhaps the one that took place in Baghdad in the 11th century AD. Revolutions have always been made by free men of humble station, Only a free man, made a slave, rebels. The slave born into the second generation, Diam Jiddu in Wolof, already has the outlook of a lumpen proletarian who is less inclined to revolt. This is an era that almost all theoreticians continue to make. The theoretical agent of revolution has never, or almost never, carried it out anywhere. In conclusion, the public role of the AMP state is more obvious than that of the individualistic Greco Roman city state. The people of the first type of state are, with all due allowances, less revolutionary, having less desire for change than those of the second type of state. And we'll pick back up civilization or barbarism. I'm Uriel Riley. Hi, sir.